Number 7. Castor beans, death in a nutshell. If you've ever looked at a castor bean plant and thought, wow, that looks kind of fancy, maybe I'll grow it by my mailbox, please sit down. We need to talk. Because you just planted a biological weapon. Castor beans contain ricin, which is basically the Breaking Bad of natural poisons. It's an absurdly lethal protein that shuts down your cell's ability to make proteins, which is like taking a factory and yanking out the power cord mid-shift. No proteins, no function. No function, no you. And get this, just a few milligrams of ricin, about the size of a salt grain, is enough to kill an adult. That's not even enough to sweeten your coffee. It's like nature's tiniest gotcha. In case you're wondering, castor oils, yes, the one your grandma swore by is safe because ricin doesn't make it through the oil extraction process. But the beans, raw and unfiltered, they're the molecular equivalent of a loaded gun wrapped in a raisin. Symptoms of ricin poisoning don't hit right away, which is honestly kind of rude. It gives you just enough time to think, maybe that trail mix tasted weird, before you start projectile vomiting and your internal organs draft their resignation letters. So if someone offers you a natural energy bar with wild beans, maybe just run. Number 6. Water hemlock, the root of all evil. Imagine you're a 19th century settler, foraging in the forest, and you dig up a root that looks a bit like parsnip. You give it a nibble. Fast forward 2 minutes. Your muscles are spasming. Your jaw is clenched like a car crash dummy, and you're making sounds that don't belong in any known language. Welcome to the water hemlock experience. This unassuming plant is widely considered the most violently toxic plant in North America. And if your toxic ex were a plant, yeah, it'd be this one. Water hemlock contains cycatoxin, a compound that doesn't mess around. It jumps straight into your nervous system and starts flipping switches like a raccoon on espresso. We're talking full-body seizures, respiratory collapse, and if you're lucky, just a memory of that one time you thought, wild carrot. Sounded like a tasty idea. The really devious part, it grows near rivers and streams, so it always looks fresh, hydrated, and harmless, like nature's version of a catfish. And the root smells sweet and earthy. Truly, the devil wears you to root veggie. Even livestock aren't safe. Just a few bites can kill a cow in minutes. Imagine being taken out faster than dial-up internet by a salad. So unless you want your final words to be, kinda tastes like celery, maybe let wild plants stay wild. Number 5. The Gympie tree, nature's electric chair. Australia. Land of kangaroos, Vegemite, and flora that actively tries to end you. Say hello to the Gympie tree, also known as the suicide plant. Yes, that's its nickname. And no, it's not an exaggeration. This innocent-looking leafy nightmare is covered in tiny, invisible stinging hairs that inject a neurotoxin so intense. Victims have described it as being electrocuted and set on fire at the same time. One poor guy fell into one of these things during WD high and had to be tied to a hospital bed for weeks to stop him from thrashing himself into further injuries. Another reportedly chose a self-checkout from life rather than endure the pain. And here's the real kicker. The pain lasts. We're talking weeks, sometimes months. The stinging hairs can stay in your skin and randomly reignite the agony whenever they're touched. Like evil glitter, but instead of sparkles you get flaming nerve endings. The toxin it releases targets your nervous system with surgical precision, hijacking pain receptors and turning them into scream buttons. And did I mention it's in the nettle family? That's right. This is nettle's demon cousin who got kicked out of hell for being too extra. You don't even have to touch the leaves directly. Just brushing against them or breathing in near a broken leaf can do the job. Because apparently, it wasn't lethal enough before it became airborne. Australia, where even the plants want you dead. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. It means a lot to me. Number 4, monkshood, the pretty purple assassin. This plant has two identities. On one hand, it's a beautiful deep purple flower that looks like it should be growing in a royal garden. On the other hand, it's also known as wolf's bane, devil's helmet, and, if we're being honest, oops, my heart just stopped. Monkshood contains a nasty little alkaloid called aconitine, which is essentially a neurotoxin that treats your body like an escape room and locks all the doors. It messes with your sodium channels, which are kinda like the on-off switches for your nerves and muscles. flipping them permanently to on. That means your nerves start firing uncontrollably and your heart forgets how to heart. Here's the wild part. This plant is so toxic, it doesn't even need to be ingested. Just touching it with bare hands can be enough to absorb a fatal dose. Gardeners who trim it without gloves sometimes get tingling, numbness, dizziness, and that's the happy ending version. The tragic version involves rapid paralysis, vomiting, and a quick descent into no territory. Oh, and it's been used in history to poison arrows, enemies, and unlucky suitors. Because what says, "I don't like you," more than a flower that kills on contact? Monkshoot is like that one friend who looks sweet on Instagram, but will absolutely ghost you during a group project. It's all vibes, zero survival. So next time you see those elegant purple blooms, hands off, Romeo. That's not a flower. It's a Victorian murder weapon in floral cosplay. Number 3, number chenille. The tree that rains acid. You're walking along a beach in the Caribbean, birds chirping, waves crashing, and you spot a little tree with shiny green fruit that kind of looks like an apple. Cute. Wrong. Run. That is the manchineel tree, and it is not here to make friends. This tree is so toxic that even standing under it in the rain can injure you. Why? Because its sap is basically nature's acid reflux. When water hits the leaves or bark, it washes the sap down onto unsuspecting beachgoers, where it causes intense burns and blisters. Think chemical peel meets medieval punishment. The fruit, oh, it looks like a crab apple. But it's called the little apple of death. Take one bite, and you'll get a burning throat, swelling, potential internal bleeding, and maybe a brief chat with the Grim Reaper if he's got time in his schedule. Spanish conquistadors supposedly tied enemies to manchineel trees as a form of execution. That's how sinister this thing is. People were weaponizing a tree before the invention of indoor plumbing. And no, burning it won't help either. Inhaling the smoke from its wood causes blindness. That's right, it's a tree that can blind you from afar, which feels kind of excessive even for a tropical plant. Some beaches in Florida and the Caribbean mark these trees with warning signs or red paint so tourists don't accidentally picnic into oblivion. Because nothing says vacation like being chemically assaulted by a photosynthesizing death pole. Number 2. Angel's trumpet. Trip balls, then die. First of all, can we talk about the irony of the name? Angel's trumpet sounds like something that plays when you enter heaven, which is weirdly accurate, because messing with this plant might get you there fast. Angel's trumpet is a droopy, pastel-colored flower that looks like it belongs in a fairy tale. But surprise! It's actually a horror movie dressed in prom clothes. Every part of this plant is laced with scopolamine, atropine, and hyoscyamin, chemicals that hijack your nervous system and play a little game called Who Needs Sanity Anyway? If ingested, it can cause hallucinations so intense they make acid trips look like AA instructions. But not the fun kind, more like the talking to dead ancestors and trying to rip off your own face kind. And unlike other hallucinogens, there's no off switch. Once it's in your system, you are locked in for the ride. No refunds, no seatbelts. The hallucinations are often so real that people don't realize they're hallucinating. One guy took it, thought he was fine, and then spent hours in a daze handing out his own belongings like a confused giveaway wizard. Another tried to make tea from the flowers and ended up in a coma. And if that wasn't enough, overdose can lead to paralysis, convulsions, respiratory failure, and death. So yeah, it's not a party drug. It's a floral Russian roulette with 1 bullet and 5 petals. Despite all this, people still try to use it recreationally. Which is wild, because Angel's trumpet is clearly just Latin for natural selection in action. Number 1. Suicide tree. Murder, but make it botanical. We've saved the most diabolical plant for last. The Cerber odolon, better known as the suicide tree. Doesn't sound real, right? Oh, but it is. And it's not just deadly. It's murderously discreet. This tree in parts of India and Southeast Asia, and produces a harmless-looking fruit that contains cerberin, a toxin that targets your heart like a jealous ex with a vengeance playlist. It disrupts calcium-ion channels in your heart cells. Fancy speak for. It shuts down your cardiac rhythm like a spiteful DJ cutting the music mid-song. But here's where it gets seriously dark. This tree has been used in actual murders. Like a lot. Because cerberin is nearly undetectable during autopsy without special tests, and the symptoms, nausea, vomiting, heart failure, it mimic a whole bunch of natural illnesses. It's basically the perfect crime, if you ignore the whole, killing someone part. For a while, it was the poison of choice in certain regions for settling domestic disputes. Someone even called it the perfect murder weapon. That's not the nickname you want your fruit to have. Apples keeps the doctor away. This one gets the coroner guessing. Authorities in India eventually caught on. And let's just say they didn't need a botanist to realize that many heart attacks in that many young, healthy people was a tad suspicious. So yeah, it's a tree that kills silently, without a trace, and grows in your backyard like it's no big deal. Basically, it's the James Bond of plants. But if James Bond hated humans and didn't need a license to kill. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.